Oh, do you want to start with Q&A? Okay, oh, okay. Well, I'd like you actually to start with the Q&A, which means I have to go into the back of my office to get a couple of questions from the internet. Before then, if we'd like to have any questions from the audience. We're going to take two. Are there any questions in the audience? Otherwise, I'll use... Yes, sir.
What's your opinion on chess variants?
Chess?
Chess variants. Any ideas?
What
Variant chess.
That's a
I'm very primitive, primitive, old and conservative. I think it just shows the greatness of the game that allows you now just to reshuffle pieces and do whatever. And I would be surprised if one day we'll go to what is ironically called Fischer chess, and I think it was played in parks, ages before Fischer. People try to avoid silvery. And in fact, I discovered that some players complain about the exhaustion of chess theory all the way back to the end of the 18th century. So there was each generation there was the complaint that there was too much written stuff, and professional players getting tired of reading it. And nearly every world champion who lost the match predicted the end of the game. So it's the drawing death of chess. But as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if with computers eventually we'll be reshuffling pieces and playing it from a different opening position. In my view, it makes sense only if a certain fixed position is being decided for either for one tournament or for 6 months. I think it's total nonsense when you just have the match between two strong players, and in each game you reshuffle pieces and allow very stupid positions. Because out of 960 positions, I'm sure that 90% are totally irrelevant from the practical point of view. So if we want just to avoid opening theory, we could stick with very few dozens, and that could help to avoid opening lines, but still keep what I call chess geometry. Because when you start changing the pieces in the opening positions, you lose the traditional geometry. We know that f7 is the weakness, in the opening, in the open lines like King's Gambit or in Italian game. And we know about something about the central squares. Now with reshuffling pieces, you lose the concept because there is no more center in the game. So I think it's with some rational changes, we could preserve the integrity of the game of chess even in the computer era. So I hope the answer is to your satisfaction.
One more?
Will you be publishing your comments to this game?
What game?
The Gala
It's already, it's already in volume 2. Yeah, but it's the interesting thing that is while writing the book, and I have to tell you that I never had 6 volumes in my mind. When it started, I had 2, and then eventually I came up with the concept of 3, which scared to death the publishers. They said nobody's going to buy 3 volumes. It's too risky. And it was a very long and painful negotiation. And I said, okay, whatever. Even if you don't pay, I have to make 3 because I don't think I could squeeze all the great players in 2. So we had a debate, but eventually the success of Volume 1 confirmed that the book would be a success and people will be buying it. But then I just recognized that 3 is just not enough, because I didn't want just to cover world champions. I wanted to say something about other great players that were very close, but couldn't make it. And since my analysis was not only about the success stories, but also predominantly about the contribution to the game of chess, I wanted just to have as many great players as possible and to show the development, the constant development of the game of chess for 200 years. Then we grew up to 4 and then to 5. Just a few weeks ago, it jumped to 6 because working on Fischer, I just recognized that I have to make volume 3 something like 650 pages big, or nearly 700. And it's an English edition where there are no pictures. Now just bear in mind that every other edition has pictures. And we have already 6 languages, the book is printed, and there are 5 more to come by the end of this year or early next year. So there are really 11 languages, and every other edition has pictures, so for them it would be absolutely impossible. So I approached the publisher this time and said, I have 3 options. I come up with this monstrous book. Nobody liked it. Two is I say I could start reshuffling. I take some of the great players, non-world champions, from Volume 3, like Leonid Stein, Lev Poldayevsky, Portish, and move them to Volume 4, which doesn't make much sense because they are, they belong to Petrov and Spassky part, not Karpov. But I can do it. I will. And the third option, I just do a separate volume with Fischer and add there Reshevsky neither, bring Larson from Volume 3. It will be best of the West. So quite amazingly, the same publisher that 2 years ago was rejecting 3 volumes concept, now he's happy to publish 6. So thanks to your enthusiasm, so the publishers, they also see the light at the end of the tunnel. So and I have another monumental task to work with Dmitry Plitsetsky now and to finish Volume 4 by the end of July, because the publisher accepted my offer with one condition, that they promised Fischer book in Christmas, in the stores. So that's why the end of July is deadline for us, and we are working like crazy on Reshevsky Naido, just to have 2 more players. There will be 21 or even 22 segments on Reshevsky and 7 on Naido. Now, I just contemplating whether we have extra game from Reshevsky Larson or not. 21 is already picked up, and I analyzed them. But dealing with these games, I always struggle, because what you want to do is you come up with a list of the games that everybody knows. You want to see the best games, say Keres Reshevsky or Reshevsky Botvini. But then you look at the commentaries and you discover that the number of mistakes, number of holes in the game that you discover with computer, it's probably too high. Yeah, so that's why I have a very, very complicated selection process. So we go through all these games, we check them again and again, because today is not only about the quality of the game that was played, but it's also about the quality of the analysis from the general public. There were all good days 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago when a grandmaster, let's say Botvini, writes the book, book is published, and everybody opens it like a Bible. You can't put it down. Now everybody opens the book, takes a Chris or a Junior, oh, you're going to find mistakes. Part of analysis. So, and I was grateful for all the commentaries that people sent to ChessBase. There were about 150 corrections for Volume 1. So that's why English edition, I think, will be revised edition by the end of this year or early next year. In fact, we plan it by the end of the year, but because of this Volume 3-4, because we have more work to do, it may wait until probably next spring. But after we complete Volume 4, we go immediately to the revised edition of Volume 1. What is also amazing that with different languages that we different editions where we're sending the manuscripts, they're all in fact different, because it's later we send the manuscript, more corrections we can make. So the worst edition is Russian, because that's the first language. Second is English, because it's second. So that's why every following edition has already corrections. So the latest we sent to Brazil, there will be a Portuguese edition published this August. That will be nearly perfect Volume 1.